Hey guys, this is Eric. Today I want to talk to you about a problem that pretty much annoys every ostomate out there, and that is pouch ballooning. Now, what exactly is pouch ballooning? Well, as the name would suggest, it's when your ostomy pouch balloons. And it's often caused by just gas simply being trapped inside your pouch. And it's actually pretty common, although a lot of people really want to find a solution to this problem. Now, I want to start off by saying gas is actually pretty normal. A lot of us go a lot of the time, and we just don't think anything of it. The problem is when it's trapped inside a very small bag, you kind of notice that, especially when it's being trapped in there with nowhere to go. Now, what are some things that cause gas? Well, for the most part, it's what we're eating. And what tends to happen is we have bacteria in our gut, and as we ingest food, that bacteria goes to work and it helps to break down some of those little bits that our body hasn't really processed. And they often release a byproduct, and that byproduct unfortunately causes gas and odor. Now, here are some foods that you might want to avoid if gas is a really big problem. But before you do that, I would recommend taking a food diary, and then that way you can start to mark down which things are problematic and which things aren't. Personally, I don't avoid too many healthy foods, even if they're gas causing. Now, another thing that causes gas, and this is something that we can really take control over, is exactly how we eat. So, for example, if you're chewing and you're not really paying attention to what you're doing and you're swallowing air, that's obviously going to cause gas. If you're a bubblegum chewer, that can also cause air to be swallowed and cause gas. If you smoke, again, air goes down, nowhere to go, usually comes back up in the form of a burp or out of your stoma in the form of gas. So you want to really pay attention to how you're eating and some of your other habits, and that will really help to minimize the ingested air. If you like to drink out of a straw or you like carbonated beverages, those are also things that you need to keep an eye out for. Now, another problem that we don't necessarily have too much control over are other digestive disorders. So, for example, celiac disease or food intolerances, whether we know we have them or not, can be a challenge, and they can often lead to gas if we eat the wrong foods. Now, for the most part, if you have celiac disease, simply avoiding gluten will eliminate this problem. But if you have something like IBS or a food intolerance, that might be a little tricky to troubleshoot. So you might want to keep a food diary or talk to a medical professional and have them get you tested to see if there are any specific foods that you actually should be eliminating because of an intolerance or a mild allergy. Now, another really common reason for gas is the use of probiotics or antibiotics. Remember, the bacteria that we have in our gut has a big influence over the amount of gas that we put out, the type of odor that comes out, and you really don't want to be disrupting that often. So if you're taking an antibiotic, it's always suggested that we follow up with a probiotic just so that we can keep things in balance and sort of keep the peace down there. Now, I also find that certain probiotics, while they may be healthy for many people, tend to cause gas for me. So if that's an issue for you and you can avoid those probiotics, certainly do so. If you've been prescribed a probiotic, for example, there is a product called VSL number 3, and I know a lot of GIs will recommend this product. If that seems to be causing upset stomach or gas issues, you might want to talk to your doctor about that. Sometimes you can change the way you're taking that, either with food or without food, or at certain times of the day, and that may help, but it may still contribute to gas. And again, if you can avoid those things, I would suggest you do so. Or even try a different type of product, perhaps with a different strain of bacteria in there, or a different quantity of bacteria. I should also point out that if you are taking probiotics, especially if you're just starting to take probiotics, or you've switched from your previous brand or type of probiotic, it's important to make sure that your body settles into it. So once you're introducing new probiotics, things kind of get a little mixed up down there, but after a few weeks generally, they tend to level out, things become more balanced, and you shouldn't really have those issues ongoing. Now, if the problem you have stems from beans, which I know we all joke about it, but it can happen. A couple of things you can do is to either soak your beans before you actually cook them. Another option is to use canned beans, which is what I do. Another option is to take a digestive enzyme. Now, there are a couple of digestive enzymes out there. They go by various names. I would like to point out that some of them aren't vegan. They will have animal ingredients in there, but there are a few that are. So look for those. Try those if that's a problem that's occurring with certain foods specifically, and perhaps that'll help. Now, okay, food is all great, probiotics is all great, but how do we solve the problem of pouch ballooning? Well, ideally you want to have a filter on your pouch that works, and that can be a challenge. I know there are a lot of different brands out there and they all have their own different style of filter. Some of them work pretty well, some of them don't work at all. I know in my experience, especially because I have an ileostomy, a lot of filters tend to clog very quickly. So, after 24 hours, that's when pouch ballooning starts, and it can get pretty annoying. So if that's a problem that you've been having, I would suggest you look for a different brand or look for a different type of filter maybe within the brand that you're using. And I think you're going to have much more success if you go that route first. Another really novel option, which can either help to mitigate some of the downfalls of a filter that isn't working properly, or to replace it altogether, is the use of vents on your pouches. Now, I know there are a couple of brands that have their own vents built into their pouch, but there is also another product called the Osto Easy Vent, and that's something that you would actually install onto your pouch. And it basically gives you a tiny vent that you can open and close, and it will stay shut pretty well, but that allows you to release gas whenever it starts to get full. Now, I want you to keep in mind, though, that venting products typically don't deodorize that like a normal pouch filter would. So you want to do that when you're not around people or when you're in a bathroom. Keep in mind that if you're using a vent product, it relies on you to kind of remember to do that. So, for example, it's not going to help you when you're sleeping. It's not going to help you if you're forgetful. So you have to really keep on top of that. And that's why my first preference is to go with a filter that actually works. Now, there are some anti-gas products out there. I don't tend to go with those because, to be honest, I don't like adding in pills and other things to my routine. But there are products out there that have certain ingredients in there to help reduce the chances of gas, and that might be something you want to look into. But I would suggest talking to your doctor or pharmacist to see if it's a product that's right for you. Now, there are a couple of products that I do want to mention, but I want to mention them because I'd like you to actually avoid them. And a couple of these products I've actually done some research on, and there's actually no evidence whatsoever, or there's evidence against the product itself, which would suggest that they don't work for helping to eliminate gas or odor for that matter. And that is activated charcoal, and yes, I've taken that. Homeopathic remedies, yes, I've taken that too. And there are a few other products out there like chlorophyll tablets where it's really sketchy whether or not they're actually doing something. So I would really just avoid those altogether, save your time and money, and focus on some of the other more valuable tips. So I hope this video's helped. If you have any tips that you'd like to share on how you control your pouch ballooning or gas, then please leave it in the comments below. Please like this video, subscribe if you haven't, and if you think that someone might be able to benefit from this information, please pass it along. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.